ribbon. Could you go ahead and demonstrate one of those for us, Norm? There we go. Same shape, same size as the ones on the outside with black ribbons. There we can see the machine in the yellow corner getting significant help in recovering the bugs. Of course, will not be allowed. Some of you with a view in the middle of the field might be able to see the cockroaches in the bottom part of the shed that will skitter around during the game. You notice they are not very large and they will be mobile. They will not have a fixed starting location. The flies inside the shed will be turning on a turntable suspended in the air. You can see underneath the shed we have termites. Those are the tubes with the PVC pipe ends on them. So here is a termite. Several of these will start out outside the shed, some will start out inside in the lowest section. You can see barricades, plus-shaped 2x4 barriers that can be moved around the field by the teams. You can see cones that will start out in each quadrant. There will be a line of 3 of them extending out from the containment area. You can see bug food. Can somebody hold up some bug food for us? There we have bug food. Our bugs have become malnourished out in the wild. They are not in their accustomed laboratory habitats. They will require nourishment when they are captured. So in this game, teams will score their points and complete their objectives by recovering bugs and putting them in the containment areas. Teams must approach the containment areas from the front. You'll notice there are obstacles in front of each containment area. You must approach the containment area directly, reaching across the side. I'm sure a lot of you are already having this thought, well, why not just drop stuff right across the side and forget about the barriers? You can't do that. That's against the rules. Those objects scored that way will be worth 0 points. Barriers can be moved around freely. Robots can move around freely. As usual, there will be no interference. There's a very strong no interference rule this year. Any teams that interfere with the operations of another team will be immediately disqualified from that round. There's no provision for any penalty, no provision for a warning, so do not interfere with other teams' operations. You'll notice that all of the teams can access the shed from all sides. Any team can open any of the doors. Any team can close any of the doors. We'll be going back to a mechanical tiebreaker this year. So the team will activate their tiebreaker by leaving their starting area and opening the door closest to their starting area. A mechanical switch will trigger your tiebreaker and send it to the computer. What else do we have to ask on this? Alright, so William in the yellow corner is attempting to score in the stepped containment area, the one on the far end. He's not quite doing that correctly because he's actually scoring in the red stepped containment area, which will of course not be allowed during the game. You may never interfere with the other team's scoring areas. These dispensers will be activated by buttons on the shed. They're not very large. They're right above the compartment containing the termites. So right up below the platform with the cockroaches, above the termites, there's a button that activates a bug food dispenser. You'll notice there's also bug food underneath the cones in their starting positions. So bug food will launch out across the field and can then be recovered by the machines. Walt is pointing out to me a bug that has not been completely recovered. It is in the edge of the containment area. As usual, scoring areas, our containment areas this year are defined by infinite vertical surface on the inner edges of the area. Oh! It looks like the yellow machine has been defeated by the obstacle in the pipe containment area. And despite some assistance, may still be high center. So here you see the hazards of in front of the containment areas that you'll have to overcome. So Walt was pointing out the termites that is not completely inside the containment area. It is not inside that vertical boundary, so it will not score. It's also important to note when scoring the containment areas that the bugs may not be constrained by any part of the machine or a detached part or by anything
Yeah.
There we have interference that would definitely result in a disqualification. The red team would certainly be disqualified from this round.
How do you figure who interfered with who?
Alright, so each containment area multiplies your scores in different ways. Go ahead and go through the scores, but these will be in your rule book. The black flies located on the turntable inside the shed will be worth 9 points each. It's a base score of 9 points for black flies. Base score of 7 points for the red flies hanging outside the shed. 5 for roaches skittering around inside the shed. 3 for termites, and 1 point for bug food. The containment areas each have a score multiplier. The stepped containment area, being the easiest to access, has a multiplier of 1. The pipe containment area, being the next most treacherous, will have a multiplier of 3. So you will get 3 times the base score for every bug in that area. And the wood pile containment area has a multiplier of 5. 5 times the points for all the bugs in that area. There are also bonuses for particular arrangements for covering your bugs. If you move bugs into a containment area and provide them nourishment by moving food into that area, you get a 25-point bonus for each of those areas. That's potentially 75 points total for bugs and food in 3 different areas. For keeping different types of bugs separate from each other, the team can get a one-time 50-point bonus. So as long as you do not have different bugs in the same area, the team gets a 50-point bonus, as long as at least one bug has been recovered somewhere. If you recover one of every type of bug, a fly, a termite, and a cockroach, you will get a 100-point bonus. It does not matter which area they are in, as long as they are properly recovered. So the red team, thanks to the assistance from the yellow team, would get a 100-point bonus for this recovery. In addition to 25-point bonuses for feeding their bugs. William is asking if it matters how many bugs you have. That does not change the value of the bonus for recovering at least one of every bug. That will, of course, increase your score, though, by getting more bugs. Go through a couple of more things, and then I'll take questions. I've already pointed out the no interference rule. I'll point that out again. There is no provision for a warning or a 20-second penalty. Do not interfere with other teams. The rules require immediate disqualification from the round. Remember not to cross the boundaries in between containment areas. They must be approached from the front. You must go over the containment area's obstacle. Reaching in from the side will result in no score for anything dropped in that manner. Remember, as usual, anything dropped outside the field boundary is not worth any points and cannot be recovered. Teams will be penalized and then disqualified if they attempt to recover anything outside the field boundary. Remember, as always, there is no damage allowed to the field or to the game pieces. Ever. Teams are immediately disqualified for damaging the field or the game pieces. This year, there is a rule requiring that no bugs be thrown. So any bugs can be dropped, especially in containment areas or anywhere else on the field, but bugs cannot be thrown. The machine cannot cause any horizontal motion. That would result in a penalty and a disqualification. There is no stealing from other teams. This is already implied in the no interference rule, but they say it again anyway. You cannot steal from other teams' containment areas. Yet another machine has been defeated by the obstacle in front of the pipe containment area. Looks like that's the most treacherous one today. Detached assemblies are handled explicitly in this year's rules. Any part of your machine that becomes fully detached is no longer considered a robot. It is simply an inanimate, neutral object on the field. It can be handled by anyone else without an interference penalty. It can be moved around. You may recover it. Someone else may recover it. People can do whatever with it they like. It is not a machine. It does not have a cutter. It cannot score points. It can nullify points if it's in contact with an object inside the containment area. Remember, bugs cannot be in contact with a machine or a detached component in the containment area. A particular rule for this